Welcome once again to Black Mental Matters in our special We Are Not Alone Healing in Color series, where we spotlight global voices on wellness, culture, and community. Today, can you tell? I'm in South Africa, baby. Yep, we're going all the way to South Africa, a land of rhythm, resilience, and rich history. You're going to meet a true entertainment powerhouse today. My microphone mate, Mr. Duane Rockwell. Over 35 years on stage, screen, and airwaves, he's a showstopper in every sense. A singer, host, DJ, MC, and team-building guru. He brings people together through joy, energy, and unforgettable experiences. But of course, behind the spotlight is a deeper story, one that's shaped by the historical racial divides of South Africa and the power of joy, its resistance and restoration. From apartheid to unity, laughter to liberation, this is a conversation about how performance heals, how music unites, and how legacy is built one moment at a time. And so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, without further ado, let me bring to you Duane Rockwell. And the crowd goes crazy.
Man, that was good. You are so good at this. I loved that. That was fantastic. And the way that you start with Johannesburg, and you give me goosebumps right up front with that beautiful picture of Hillbrow and Johannesburg in the background. And then you mentioned the 3 R's, the rhythm, the rich history, and what was the third one? Because I just remember thinking to myself, resilience. That is so South African. The 3 things that define South Africa and Africa, I think, as well.
Yeah, man. And you know,
Wow.
let's make that clear because, you know, the world is so big and we get things confused sometimes. Africa is the continent.
Exactly.
South Africa is a country within Africa, right?
Exactly that. So you've got Africa, which is this huge continent, 54 countries on the continent itself.
Wow.
And then right down the bottom, right down at the most southern tip, that's where you'll find South Africa. It is a country full of incredible diversity, as is the continent. The continent is just the biggest mix of human beings and diversity and different kinds of energies, music and food. It's a very, very, very rich continent.
Yeah, beautiful place, man. And, you know, so glad to have you over here now in the great US of A. You know,
Yep.
what can we say? You have got great accent. I love it, man. We talk all the time. And again, a great entertainer that you are. And you've been doing this again for quite a while. Now, you've only been in the States for a couple years now, right?
In October, Vince, it'll be 3 years. 3 years, but 3 fantastic years, 3 learning years, 3 very rich and resilient years again, because it's not easy. Transporting yourself and transplanting yourself at this stage of our lives is quite a big undertaking, but it's been nothing but enjoyable and just exciting. I mean, this country is so rich with opportunity. It really is. For guys like us who want to do what we do, there's so much opportunity in this country.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's get right into it, man. And you know, unfortunately, one of the biggest things people, when they first hear about South Africa, they think about apartheid. That's when you were growing up. So, yeah, growing up during apartheid, man, how did music and joy serve maybe as an escape? Well, first of all, that experience, man, I can't imagine. Tell me.
You know what, Vince, it's one of those questions that seems on the surface very difficult to answer, but then you and I, we're both honest guys, and I'm going to be really honest with you. When you're in the middle of it, when you're 14, 15, or even younger, I was 7 or 8 or 10 years old, right in the thick of when apartheid was at its most powerful, really, you are just living your day-to-day life. So as a 15-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 5-year-old, you're just living, right? So you don't know that things are different to the way that they should be, different even maybe to the way that they are around the world. Intrinsically, you know that you are not surrounded by people of a different color when you go to school, because all the white kids go to school there, all the black kids go to school there, black people live there, white people live there. But when you grow up knowing that as your existence, you don't know until you get a little older that, hold on a second, this is not the way it's meant to be. This is not what it's supposed to feel like living in a country. You're not supposed to be in an environment where it's those people are there and those people are there, because that's just not what the world looks like. But you only really start seeing that and understanding that when you get a little older. My mother, see, there's another caveat to this as well, in that my father was an entertainer as well. And through the entertainment side of things, we would be in the studio. I mean, I would spend holiday after holiday in studio with my dad, recording another album, recording somebody's album, recording his own album. And in the studio, there were bunches and bunches of different kinds of people. So you'd see people from all around the world. So to see a couple of black session musicians in the studio wasn't the most normal thing in the world. So in as much as we were segregated in the day-to-day existence, living in the country it just felt normal at the time until you got a little bit older and you realize, hold on a second. Then you start realizing and start understanding that the ANC is doing what they're doing in terms of trying to free the people in the country and for equality. And you start realizing, hold on a second, this is wrong. This is wrong. You can't live like this. But that really only happens to you when you get a bit older, when you get a bit more in tune with what politics means and what segregation is. And when you also have to understand that we only got TV in 1976, I think it was. So we didn't see things from around the world. We didn't see what the rest of the world was doing. We didn't really understand what the rest of the world looked like, other than people who had traveled and seen that things look different. But you don't really know that. So growing up in South Africa, you only knew what you would see. We only really realized, I think, my generation in 1990, 1992, when freedom was coming and apartheid was coming to an end. We only really realized retrospectively and retroactively that this was just insane. It was inhumane. It was insane. But it's like anything. When you're in it, it's so hard to understand what it is.
You did such a great job, man, of explaining that, because I can imagine, again, like you say, as a kid, it's just, no different. Sure. And I can say the same, here in America, even without I guess, official institution now of slavery or anything like that. But if you live in a black neighborhood, that's what you know. You live in a white neighborhood, that's what you know. And then you have these melting pots out there. But one thing that's interesting and I think very unique in your situation, entertainment is how you were able to, and music brought you together. That's probably the time, like you say, when you got the chance to work with some black musicians or black engineers, that kind of thing. That entertainment world brings us together, a tool for healing. Yeah,
absolutely a tool for healing. I couldn't agree more. And it still is to this day, because in South Africa, you've got a very, very diverse and very rich selection of different kinds of music. So you'd have very Afrikaans music, which is boere musiek. You then have township music. Then you've got your pop and rock stuff that most of the guys in the suburbs do. Then you've got these guys who are Mikasa, for instance, a band called Mikasa. One white guy, two black guys, and they make the best Afrobeat stuff in the world. So here's a guy who grew up in the townships with all of his best black friends. So there's this incredible richness that came out of it once it started really mixing itself up so much. And it did. So you're right, though. It is healing because it makes you realize. And also the other thing about music is when you get up on stage to do something, you don't care who's standing there. You just want to know that the guy's going to do the best job in the world. Right. And he's going to do what he needs to do to make you do the best that you can do. So it's a very different place. And then guys like Johnny Clegg came around. And Johnny Clegg's a world famous guy, right? He was a white guy who, in the late 70s, decided that he wanted to play something called Mbakanga music. I'm saying that completely wrong, but it was a mix. It was a mix of township jive and black music. And then suddenly Johnny came in and started understanding how this all worked. And there was a lot of, initially, there was a lot of, hold on a second, what's this guy doing? White guy playing black music. Yeah. But then suddenly it became the coolest thing in the country. And then everybody was doing it. And so it's funny that you say that, though, because I've never really looked at music as one of the tools that brought about the change. But it was most certainly was a big tool and a big, I don't know, a big lens that you could put over everything and say, it can work because it works with the music already.
It connects us together, and it's probably, as you really delve into history, part of the same that took place here in America, and here we are, today. And it actually helps kind of shape your relationship to a community, through music. Like I'm thinking of some of the artists. Excuse me.
You okay?
From yes, sir. From South Soul Makusa, that was a big song Soma Kusa, and then Paul, was it Paul Simon?
Paul Simon, Graceland. Right. Right.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did the whole album. That was a beautiful thing, man, and I think that
Beautiful
opened
thing.
up the eyes. I have a friend, a high school mate, and he plays with a South African band now. He's a great bass player, Frank Russell. So I mean, it brings us together, and that's how it kind of brought you and I together. We're both
It really did.
MCs in the ballroom world, met one another. Once we got to talking, I wasn't looking at your skin color, you wasn't looking at mine. It's like, hey man, this dude, he's pretty good. You know, he's funny. We having fun. You know, yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But you know, people, you've got to get through that initial barrier of whatever it is. Is the person too tall? Is it too short? Or this or that? There's always something that could be construed as a barrier to two people meeting each other. And sometimes, like you say, that color barrier around the world is sometimes a thing. I want to hark back quickly. I want to go back to something you just said, because that's super interesting to me. Music was a huge, huge unifier. But at the same time, it was also a very big tool that overseas artists used to get sanctions imposed on South Africa. So a lot of people, there was something, Stevie Van Zandt, I think it was in the late 80s, did something called I Won't Play Sun City. We won't play Sun City.
That's right.
Which Sun City was because what was happening is a lot of artists were coming from around the world. Everybody from Frank Sinatra to literally everybody in the 80s and the 90s was coming to South Africa and playing in a place called Bophuthatswana, which was just outside of the borders of South Africa, but close enough for you to just drive 1.5 to 2 hours, and then you could go watch these international artists. So a lot of guys were taking the payday and coming to South Africa. It wasn't really, because officially it was outside of South Africa, but they were still coming to Sun City. And then guys from around the world said, no. We're not going to go to this country because apartheid is still rough. Nelson Mandela's in prison. We need to raise awareness. So music was a big, big, big part of raising that awareness as well. So in as much as it's funny how you use that tool two different ways, you know?
Yeah. And you brought back memories of that. That was a huge song. It was a huge, kind of like a We Are the World, but everyone, you know, joined in and put the pressure on the government there, and things started changing. Mandela, all of that great stuff that took place. And again, came through this great field that we're in, this music and entertainment. So, hey man, hats off to you. Hats off to you. We've talked about some of the, as friends, the differences between, you know, now that you're here 3 years, you know, seeing the kind of American way of life as opposed to what are some of the values you think that are more strikingly different that people would have to adjust to if they move there or you come in here?
I tell you, okay, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to go this way around. The first thing that strikes you, unfortunately, and we spoke beforehand as well, and I promised you that I'd be as honest as I possibly could. The one thing now that really, 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 as you land in America, you realize everything works. Because South Africa right now is going through a phase of, it's not broken, but it's certainly breaking. There are fractures. The infrastructure isn't good.
Bridges,
you know, they can,
roads.
It's so difficult. Roads, not good. The electricity, the grid is not stable. The water supply is sometimes unstable. So it all depends where you live, right? So the first thing you realize when you get here is, man, everything works. Everything really works. Everything's really functional. Everything's really well put together, well managed, and well operated. And in South Africa, that's not the case anymore. It really isn't. They're going through a very difficult time as far as that's concerned. But then another very big thing comes into it. Out of that difficulty in South Africa, it has bred a human being that is the most resilient human being on the planet. They get through everything. They will have a braai, which is a barbecue over the weekend. They will have a couple of beers. They will have their friends around. They will go to mass gatherings on the weekends and have parties, and they will live their best life, even though things aren't perfect, because they will get through it. South Africans have a phrase, there's a word that we use called fussbait, which really means you just kind of, it's called fussbait. Fussbait. So you bite down, you grit your teeth, and you get through it, and you get on with it. This is the reality of what a South African. That's what it means to be a South African. They are the most resilient people on the planet. So immediately you see a different kind of energy to things. When we, as South Africans coming to America, man, I'm here. I want to do things. I want to get going. What do you do? Well, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And Americans are a little different in respect that a lot of people specialize in one thing or two things maybe. But then the South African people, they'll specialize or they'll participate in 5 or 6 different ways, because in South Africa, you have to be multi-skilled, multi-talented, and multi-level to everything you do. Otherwise, making a bit of money and really doing well there is a difficulty. So you find here, people are a lot more specialized. And in South Africa, you'll be a lot more diverse in terms of the way you approach whatever you do for a living. And the other big thing, the other very big thing, and there's a similarity between Southerners in America and South Africans. They are warm, the warmth of the people and the politeness of the people. Everybody will greet you. South African people, to a fault, are the most warm and giving and generous, hospitable people you'll ever meet.
Wow.
I swear to you, you get off the airplane, it doesn't matter where you come from, you will find somebody to look you in the eye and give you a big smile and make you feel welcome. They really do. That's just the way South Africans are made. One of the biggest differences here for me is Americans, for me, are a little more matter of fact. They're a little bit more matter of fact in terms of the way they send emails and send texts and have conversations. A little bit kind of get to the point. Let's get down to business. Where South Africans will send a long email. You only have to be 2 lines in the email, but it'll be a long email full of all sorts of explanations as to why we want what we want, why we need what we need. So we're very verbose in terms of the way we communicate, whereas sometimes I find in America, people are a lot more to the point. Let's get it done. We got stuff to do. And South Africans are we're very polite. We're very polite. South Africans say sorry for just about everything that happens to you, around you, next to you, to somebody you know. And we got a couple of really weird phrases. And I'm only picking up a couple of similarities now in America, because one of the things we do is if somebody close to you dies, you go, oh, shame, I'm sorry. You know, that kind of thing. So we're very polite. You know, I'm sorry. Well, it wasn't your fault, dude. Why are you apologizing?
Yeah.
No, I'm just sorry for you. You know, we tend to do that. We're very polite.
You have that in common. That's a trait that would say a lot with Canadians too. That
Yes.
folks from from Canada,
Right.
will apologize a lot and things like that. Which, hey, I mean, it's genuine. It's genuine. It's not putting on a show. It's just that culture.
No.
And that's how you do things in that country, and that's why we're having this conversation. I mean, I've learned so much just in this short amount of time about South Africa, and I mean, we've talked about holidays and food and things like that. So there is a lot of similarities. There are a lot of differences, but when we all come together, when it's all said and done, hey, we all want the same things. We want success. We want our kids to be fine. We want to leave a legacy if we can. Take care of your elders, all those kinds of things. So, hey, my hat's off to South Africa, man. Great job.
It's funny that all of the things you've just said now, and I think it's become more and more true over the last maybe 20 years, because I think the world has got smaller and smaller and smaller. So in as much as I think if I'd done what I'd done now, maybe 25 years ago, I would have got to America, and I think my mind would have been blown by the amount of differences between the two cultures and the two countries. And in fact, the way that people operate, the way they do business, all of those things might have been hugely different. But you have to understand that America now, being America, the biggest and the most powerful country in the world, we are very influenced in South Africa by things that happen in America. The kind of cars, the kind of the fact that you guys love barbecues, we love to braai, we love the outside, those types of things. So there are a lot more similarities now, I think, because of the fact that we've been watching so much American TV for the last 20, 30 years, and the fact that this has made the world such a small place.
Yeah.
So when I got off the airplane, and 3 years ago, it wasn't this huge culture shock. It really wasn't. And I think that might say something about the fact, again, and you can relate to this, being an entertainer, everybody can not everybody, everywhere can feel like home in
Yes.
just a matter of minutes.
We don't
Because
meet a
you have to
stranger.
do
We
that.
don't meet strangers. We
But
walk in the room.
exactly,
And it's what does it take to lift this mood up, to lift the
precisely.
spirits up? We're going to do that. You know, Duane, you have I have to say some of the highest energy levels, man. I mean, you know, you and I, we could get on a roll on the phone, or
Oh
if
yeah,
we're in person.
oh
And
yeah.
I mean, I'll have to take a break
No
after we
weekend.
finish because I'm just so excited about our ideas and things like
Yeah.
that. But then there's those times, you know, when you're alone. How do you stay mentally and emotionally grounded, because you're giving so much energy to everybody else out here?
It's an interesting question, and I suppose we should probably ask the people closest to us to answer that question, because I think they would probably immediately be able to identify, well, when you are tired, this is how you behave and the things you do. But I like to believe that I am self-aware enough to understand that there are certain things that we do as people. I can get very quiet. I can be very quiet. I can even maybe sometimes look like I'm dialing out.
Mm.
So I'll be at home maybe after 3 or 4 or 5 gigs on the road, or in a row in 4 days or 5 days. Come to a Sunday or a Monday, and I'm really spent. The energy is spent. So I like to try and stay as healthy as I possibly can, because that, I do believe, helps you. When I'm not training, when I'm not gymming, life is not good,
Mm.
because I'm not. There's no balance. It's all work and no physicality. If I'm not eating properly, no good. If I'm not sleeping enough, no good. But when I do dial out, I love to watch TV. Tam and myself, we love to watch series. We get a good series and we'll watch an hour here, an hour there, wherever we get an opportunity. I love watching live bands. Oh, that's one of the things we have to talk about in this country, because having been to Nashville so many times, I love to go watch live bands. I could
Oh,
I could go to Nashville, go downtown, and spend 2 days.
yeah.
So that's really what I do, and I will tell you that I can sometimes be the antithesis of who you know
Mm.
as Duane, because I can sometimes get very quiet, and I can get very grumpy. I
We
really can.
both we both share that as well. You know,
I
again,
really
once
can.
you get out there, you get on stage, you do your thing, and then it's like, oh, it just, you know, and I think that's our body's way also of rejuvenating,
Yes.
recharging.
Yes.
How is mental health viewed in South Africa? I mean,
Mm.
we hear, you know, with the stigma, no one wants to talk about it, no one wants to
Yeah.
get help. Uh,
Yeah.
in South Africa, how is mental health addressed there?
It's Look, it's very similar to here now. I had my mental health issues. I've had a couple of issues. You know, I'm 7 years clean and sober now. In fact, 7 years
And the
1
crowd
week
goes
ago.
crazy again. Yes, sir.
So I had my issues as well. So it's funny that you say that, though, because when I had my issues, when I got clean 7 years ago, 2018 it was, I decided that I was going to be as honest and open as I possibly could about it with anybody who wanted to know and anybody in the industry. But it's not really fair for me to say that, oh, I took this big leap and I was so brave about being honest and telling everybody and talking about it and helping everybody I could. Because in our industry, it's almost commonplace that people have issues, mental health and those other kinds of issues that people have. So for me to come out and say that stuff wasn't really this big brave thing. It was really just, oh, well, you know, yet another guy in the music industry who kind of fell off the wagon for a little while, and you know, he had to get himself sorted out. But I did notice when I came out that people were talking about it more and more, and the fact that you could get help and needed help was becoming more of an accepted thing. So for somebody to reach out and say, look, I need help, is becoming more acceptable, if
Hmm.
that makes any sense. I think there's a lot more. There's a lot more attention in this country to mental health than there is in South Africa, because there is still that very male attitude in South Africa where men don't have mental health problems. No.
Hmm.
We just get on with it. What do you mean? Shut up. Go to work.
What did you
Earn
say?
money.
Fast back?
What?
What's it called?
Fuss bait.
Fast
Fuss
back.
bait. Fuss bait. What are you moaning about? You've got wife and children who need to eat. Get your butt to work. Go and earn some money. And and I'll tell you what, if you do have any problems, come home, have a couple of beers later, and leave it at that. But stop moaning. Don't
Making
moan.
it
So
worse. Right.
what,
Right.
making it worse. Absolutely. So I think there's been a lot of that for a long time. I mean, the patriarchy in South Africa is still a thing. It's a thing. It's a real thing. If certain areas of South Africa, the patriarchy is powerful. Tribalism and patriarchy within those tribal constructs is a very powerful thing. There are certain religions, there are certain groups of people who the man is the leader of the house under all circumstances, no questions asked. So hence that guy has got to provide no questions asked as well. You know, the two go together. So but I do think it's getting better and better. There's more attention being paid to it. There's more places you can go to. There are more lines and telephone lines that you can now call if you have a problem.
Which we now have 988. So anyone, here that has been just a godsend. We just have to let people know it, just like you know 911 for mental health here. It's 988, and there'll be someone on the other end that can help you get through any mental health crisis, suicidal ideation, anything like that. 988. So yeah,
I did not know that, Vince. 988. I did not know that. But I will tell you, in South Africa, there's no such thing. There's no such thing. You will have to phone a mental health provider. You'd have to get an appointment with a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Or if you really, really, really get into trouble, you'd have to check yourself into a rehab and try and find some kind of help that way. Or you would go to AA groups or what's the other one? Drug Anon, those kinds of things. You'd have to go to those type of things. Yeah. But you're not going to phone a line. You're not going to phone a helpline. And that's not something that we have a huge amount of infrastructure for in South Africa. And look, I could be sitting here 3 years later, I could be completely wrong. They could have opened a line 6 months ago and I don't know about it. But I do know that it is as prevalent as it is anywhere else in the world. But I think the approach is slightly different.
Yeah, the approach is slightly different, and then there's just different cultures deal with things differently. Some places of Africa, the mental health issue is dealt with how else can I say, spirituality, witchcraft, that kind of thing. Or in the Mexican communities, it's all about family. You start with your family first. You don't go outside seeking help like that. So these traditions and things, that's what we really want to, share with people so that they know. And I appreciate you conversing about your stint in rehab. I did it too when I was in my early 20s. You come out on the other end, but you have to step in to come out on the other end, seek help and it happens for you.
And I think it's got such a lot to do with communication, Vince. I think the biggest issue for me, mental health and communication are so intrinsically intertwined because people, and I'm going to go back to the whole male South African thing. We're not good communicators. We're not fantastic communicators. The Afrikaner, the traditional Afrikaner, white Afrikaner in South Africa, we're not the best communicators in the world. We won't stand around a barbecue, or like I said, we call it a braai. We won't stand around a braai and talk about I've been feeling a bit down the last couple of weeks. No way. We talk about sports. Talk about this crazy thing that happened. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's no way we'd stand around but that is changing a little. I think young people are changing that because they're realizing more and more that it's a real thing. Because listen, a lot of guys your age and my age, we still don't even think that that's even a thing.
That it's a thing, that it's important.
What? It's like there's a famous, when you start getting into that whole cycle of self-abuse and you start doing whatever you're doing that lands you up in rehab, there's this thing where you go, oh man, I've been depressed. People will say this to you, and I promise you, Vince, it's the one thing you should never, ever tell anybody who's depressed or in a situation where they don't feel like they can make it through. People will say, listen, get your head out of your butt. Get your head out of your butt. Go to work. Get on with it. Stop moaning. Stop whining. Stop whinging. What are you? A big baby. You're not a baby. That's the worst possible thing that you can tell anybody.
That's right.
Ever.
That's right.
But in South Africa, listen, even when it happened to me as little as 7 years ago, certain people would look at me and go, okay, Well, okay. If that's what you had to do, that's what you had to do. It's your thing. You do you. But I see a very different reality in this country. If kids are treated very differently here, if kids have got problems, they get helped quickly. I don't know that that's the case just yet in South Africa.
Well, that tells us then, though, that we've got to do a whole lot more because, in all that, excuse me, in all actuality, like here in the state of Georgia, we're at the bottom of the heap, as it relates to the resources and the time.
Right.
But at least through venues like this and people talking about it, it puts it on the forefront. I really, again, man, appreciate you, Duane, for taking this time and sharing with folks. And so if folks, you're an MC, you're a host, you do a lot of things. If they want to find you, what do they need to do?
Vince, the easiest way is DuaneRockwell.com. DuaneRockwell.com. I've got a couple of YouTube channels. There's a web pages up. And you know what they could do? I've got a really good idea, Vince. They could phone you.
Yeah, they could. You could.
oh, we got to finish on this. Vince. The biggest difference in the entertainment business between America and South Africa, and I will die on this hill, you guys in America are the best self-promoters on the planet. You are able to sell yourselves. You are able to stand across the room from somebody and say, this is what I do. This is who I am. That's how well I can do it. This is what I'll do for you. I promise you, book me. You won't be sorry. South Africans, we are so, well, sure, I can do that. Yep, no problem. If that's what you need, yep, sure. Okay. Well, tell me about yourself. I mean, I can speak for days on stage, right? Days. Give me anything to talk about. You and I, we got the same problem, right? Put me on stage, I'll talk for days. But then say to me, right, you've got 5 minutes, talk about yourself. Nothing. I got nothing, dude. Wow. I got nothing. We just don't do it. So, you've got to I'll give you an example. You asked me for a bio, right, before today. A bio, just to give you a little bit of an overview, right? That bio is not a proper biography. It's not. It's telling you what I can possibly do for you. It doesn't tell you what I have done. So I'm not going to go, I did this on radio. I did this on TV. I hosted this series of concerts. There's no way I'll say that stuff. It's like, what? We're way too inhibited to do that. And I think it's stupid. Well, I'm learning so much from American entertainers in terms of you got to put your foot down and say, this is who I am. This is what I can do. This is what I've done. And we need to work together. And I think that's one of the biggest differences as entertainers. So everyone who's coming here from South Africa, get your big boy panties on, your big girl panties on, and learn quickly. Otherwise, you are so going to battle. You really are.
Well, see, and you've already got the name. It's Duane Rockwell, ladies and gentlemen, Rockwell. And he does, man. Hey, thank you so much again, Duane, for sharing this time with us, man. We got to put a lid on it, this powerful, high-energy episode of Healing in Color with our great guest again. There he is. I want you to see him one more time. There he is, Mr. Duane Rockwell. Well, my guest, he reminded us that entertainment isn't just an escape, it's expression, it's connection, and sometimes even rebellion. In South Africa, performance has long been a way to push back against pain and pull people together into joy, and Duane does it with unmatched grace and fire. Love that man. If you felt the rhythm of his story, share this episode with someone who needs to be reminded that joy is a form of resistance, and healing can look like a packed dance floor. To hear more global voices of healing, you just visit blackmentalmatters.com. And until next time, stay grounded, stay joyful, and remember, your mental matters. We'll see you next.